Welcome to the Mad Panda podcast, where hip hop has no expiration date. I am Nate, along with my co-host Silas, and today we're gonna be diving deep into everything hip hop. So let's get it.
And as usual, if you like what you're hearing, please like, share, subscribe, so we can keep building together.
Yes, indeed.
All right, we appreciate everybody that's listening. So let's keep it up so we can grow. I think today we were just going to talk a little bit about mixtapes. I think somebody coming up in the late '80s, early '90s, a mixtape was different than what
Y'all came up
the young, these youngsters listen to these days. So
yeah.
Like for me, the original like mixtapes that I heard were just basically tape trading with friends. Like I would record songs off the radio. Whatever tapes I'd bought, I'd copy some of those songs.
Yeah.
Had the dual cassette deck. You'd play one, record the other, or you're recording off the radio. And then you'd make copies of those tapes and just do some tape trading with your friends and stuff. And so they would give you stuff, and that's where you'd hear new music. That was kind of like, basically that was our Spotify or social media at the time. It was just like, hey, here's this tape with some stuff I recorded off the radio. And it was like, well, here's mine.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes it'd be overlapping. Sometimes it'd be stuff you'd heard. Other times it would be completely different. And
so like when you saying completely different, will it be, because I mean, if it's stuff off the radio, because from what I know, the radio kind of plays the same 6 songs on a loop, maybe, or maybe 10, 11 songs.
Back then, like, there was a couple stations that would have like an hour, 2-hour blocks at night of hip hop, or there was a few like college stations that would have, you had to be within about, within 5 miles of the college to get the reception from it because it was a small station.
Oh, okay.
But the other thing is that like, like I had friends who had like cousins in, the Bay Area or cousins in San Diego or, uncles in New York. And so every now and then somebody would break up, be like, hey, I just got a tape from New York. And so that's where you'd hear some,
okay.
Most of the time it was just stuff, like different things off the radio, but every now and then somebody would break out with something, and then the other thing is, in California, I don't know, there's a few other swap meets, but it was a different kind of in California. There was a couple down there that you could go and people would actually sell tapes down there too. So, I know the big one, I didn't get there until I was like 17 probably, but I had friends that would go there earlier. It was the Slauson swap meet down. I don't know if it was quite in Compton or kind of between South Central and Compton, if I remember, but a friend would go down and he would always come back with these bootleg tapes. Yeah. Like it was a mix. Sometimes it'd be like just a bootleg copy of a full album, but most of the time it was compilations kind of. And that's basically what a mixtape was. Initially it was just like a compilation. It was like a whole bunch of different songs, and it was either put together by, like I said, like recording off the radio or taking the favorite songs off your collection and sharing it.
So it's it's pretty much a playlist, kind of how we now.
Basically, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was. So, and then later, started hearing like actual mixtapes of DJs. So like some of the big DJs in the '90s. I'm trying to remember some of the names.
I know DJ Capri was probably.
Yeah, Kid Capri. Yeah, he was a big one at New York. Sway and Tech, I think it was King Tech, if I remember right. But later, as you got closer to 2000s, I think you had like DJ Clue and Funkmaster Flex, and they would release tapes like CDs.
See, I didn't know Funkmaster Flex was releasing CDs. I always knew him from the radio show.
I mean, I'm maybe misquoting on him actually releasing some of those. I'm just trying to think of DJs from that period. But I do know there were DJs, and there was a lot of like underground DJs.
My
memory's gone on that. I can't quite remember some, but I had a few of those tapes that were like a CD, and those were actually mixes. So it wasn't just song and then pause, song, pause. It was full on mixes. So you'd be like 30 minutes on each side of a cassette. You'd have like 10 or 12 songs on each side.
Got you. And they all kind of blended in.
Yeah, so DJs would cut a little bit. What got annoying is a lot of the DJs would start like saying their name. So every like 30 seconds in a song, it's like DJ whatever, like so and so. And I forget. Some of the names. That kind of got irritating.
What's the DJ that it's such and such DJ, slap your favorite DJ or something like that? I just remember hearing that sound, but I don't remember who it was.
Yeah, I don't quite remember off the top.
I was like, slap your favorite D. I mean, it worked because, I mean, it stuck with me for all these years. I just don't remember exactly who it was.
around that same time, I had gotten into like, we called it techno at the time. It was kind of like break beat, so it was like high tempo.
Okay.
But it was very much rooted in hip hop because it was break beats, like the same break beats that hip hop guys were using, but it was at, 140, 160 BPM, sped up.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah, so it was like the stuff you'd see at raves back in the day. I have probably about 40 records from those days.
It's stacking
back here. But singles, a lot of white labels that were like, coming from Europe and stuff like that. But those were the DJs those were the mixtapes that I was getting at that time because I enjoyed the way it sounded, like mixes, and it always had like cool samples. But like there was a guy named like Barry Weaver. He was like my favorite DJ. Out of California. Doc Martin was another DJ out of California, I think.
Okay.
And they were spinning that, but what was cool is they would mix other stuff into it. So you'd have like these techno songs, and then there'd be like a hip hop beat would drop in, or a punk song would drop in every now and then.
Yeah.
But those were pretty cool. But that, to me, that's what mixtapes were at that time. Just, it was either the homemade ones or it was DJs actually spinning.
So what time,
full mixes.
What's the time period for, I guess, your mixtape? When you listen to mixtape, was it from like late 80s to mid 90s, or all the way to 2000s?
Those ones was probably into like the late 90s. Towards it, like tail end of the 90s, it kind of veered from those mixtapes to more like compilations again.
Okay.
There was a few. The one I can remember, I think it was Immortal Records, put out one called The Next Level. And that was like the first time I heard like Dilated Peoples, which you're probably not familiar with.
No.
That was actually really good. I've got a copy of it somewhere over there. But that was like one of the first like real compilations that kind of introduced you to a bunch of different artists. And then there's been a few of those over the years. So those are kind of mixtapes. But yeah, my concept of a mixtape was always multiple artists. So then later on, I guess in probably early 2000s, I don't know who was the first one to put out a mixtape, which basically was,
it's kind of like
it's like, hey, I'm releasing an album, but I don't want to make this my debut album, so I'm just going to release it as a mixtape, even though it is my debut album.
Yeah. So this is where you can pass the baton to me.
Yeah.
Because this is the era where I know of the mixtapes, which is, I'm not sure if he was the first one to do it, but I know he's probably the biggest one, and that was 50 Cent. 50 Cent was one of those who called his stuff a mixtape because he was rapping over other people's beats, right? So you can't really have rights over other people's beats, right? That's on the radio. So just go ahead.
In that note, then the very first mixtape would have been "Jackin' for Beats" by Ice Cube. It was a single song, but it was kind of that same concept where
he did like 4 or 5 beats off that.
At least, it was like some X Clan and some Eric B, I think, and other stuff. Yeah,
he was killing it too.
Yeah.
But I think 50 Cent was the first one. Well, I can't say first one, but he was one of those ones the biggest ones who actually did it. And what he would do is he would kind of put, like you said, yours was where you had different artists on it. His was all his songs, everything he did with his people, with Tony Yayo, Lloyd Banks, all that stuff. And this is before 50 was 50. And so he was like go around and he would like have that new 50 Cent, whatever like that. And what he would do is he'll have like bootleggers like selling his CDs. And he would act like, because nobody knew who 50 Cent was at the time. So he'd be like, oh, here, let me get that new 50 Cent right there. That's hot right there.
Oh, to get other people around.
Yeah. So like other people like start buying it, and then the bootleggers start wanting to get that. They like, oh, you heard this new 50 Cent? Like, so he got up to that point, and pretty much that was him testing the market. So he called it a mixtape because he wanted to know what songs will work for his album, pretty much. So he'll go to like a bootleg and he's like, hey, what's hot on the streets right now? And they're like, oh man, this new 50 Cent with Lloyd Banks. This such a song right here. And everybody's buying it because of this song. He's like, all right, write that down. I know we gotta make more songs like that. And so they say he was like,
so he was like market research, basically.
Yeah, pretty much for his own self. And then the whole thing that blew him up though with 50 was, if everybody knows, is that his whole beef with he had it just like Jackin' for Beats for Ice Cube. He had a song called "How to Rob," but instead of him using a lot of different beats, he just named out a bunch of artists, and he was talking about how to rob them. So he named Busta Rhymes, Jay-Z, it was I think he's at Missy Elliott. It was like everybody that was big around that time. And he was saying like how to rob him, whatever like that. And that's what kind of like blew him. That's what gave him his spark to, because
people's ears and stuff.
Yeah, because especially at that time, that's probably like early 2000, maybe 1999 or something like that. That's where, we just lost Big and Tupac. So people still kind of grieving over that,
And they were looking for like the next big thing from New York.
Well, yeah, no, I think the thing was like we had those two losses, right? So that was only a couple years ago, and now everybody kind of wanted to like keep everything on a peaceful mode.
Oh, and he comes out talking about rock.
Yeah,
he's like, okay,
yeah, so he came in
throwing it, yeah,
everything, and with that, that gave him his spark, and then he started releasing the mixtapes after that, which we get into the point where he started to have his own albums, but they was mixtapes, you know what I'm saying? And that's kind of where I got introduced into mixtapes.
Okay.
But the person who elevated mixtapes and who dominated mixtapes for a good while, especially in my portion of my life, was Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
Lil Wayne, yeah, I think I would call him the king of mixtapes. Just because, like I said, I don't know if I said this on a podcast before, but when you heard of Lil Wayne rapping over like one of the new songs off the radio, that wasn't that song no more. It was Wayne's song. It was Wayne's song at that point, and I know artists had to be frustrated with Wayne with that, because I think what originally happened was Wayne wanted to. He like rap, so he liked to experiment with different coasts and stuff like that. He wanted to do that, but Birdman and I think his brother Brian or whatever like that, who owned Cash Money.
Oh
yeah. They was like, especially Baby Birdman. He was like, it's like Lil Wayne. He's like, when you put out an album, this gonna be strictly New Orleans. Like, you're not going to no East Coast. You're not doing no West Coast.
The mixtape was his way to get around that and be like, okay, yeah, albums will be in New Orleans, but everything, mixtapes will be whatever.
Yeah, so his mixtapes were very experimental for him, and he that's why he loved to do them, because he got to play around and with different styles and different flows, and he didn't have to keep it New Orleans and be in a box pretty much.
Yeah,
and so with that, we got some of the legendary, verses from Wayne, and just some of those mixtapes are just incredible. Like the No Ceilings mixtapes it's crazy. He got like no ceiling. I think it go all the way up to 3.
Yeah.
No Ceilings all the way 1, 2, 3. But
the Carter albums, those are his albums.
Yeah, right? Those are his albums. Okay. Yeah, those are his albums. Those when he kept it home based pretty much. But yeah, he had his mixtapes. His mixtape runs was crazy, and he didn't start veering off until he became a bigger artist, to where Birdman kind of trusted him to go out and
kind of earn his freedom at that point.
Yeah, yeah, because Wayne was a monster back then. Wayne was a monster, and so that is like my mixtape era, and even with that, right? So when I hear mixtape, I can see what people are talking about. Like with you said it was a bunch of different artists on a song, and then when in the 50 era, it was pretty much his songs, but just labeled a mixtape kind of ish. And then in the Wayne era, it was him on a different other people artists beats.
So pretty much everything on his albums were just other beats.
Yeah, his mixtapes, it was everybody else's beats. So the beat sounded familiar, and then you just hear Lil Wayne come on this bad boy. He always introduced his verse with a lighter flick, like how you flick lighter.
Yeah.
So and then you was like, when you heard that lighter flick, you was like, oh my god, he about to spaz on this. And then it kind of reverted back to the way 50 did it with mixtapes after Wayne, because I think nobody wanted to. Well, I guess we got into that digital era, so even if you use somebody's beat, you was gonna get flagged for it.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then I guess early 2010s, 2010s to 2015 and all that stuff, 2016, I would have to say my favorite artist kind of dominated the mixtape game at that point, and that was Big Crit, which...
Yeah, he put out a bunch.
A bunch of mixtapes, yeah. which was just albums like 50 did. You know, it was pretty much albums. It was for him for his experiments, I guess you could say, and all those albums became legendary to his core fan base. Like for me,
yeah, I think I showed you they have that vinyl box set that has like 5 of them.
Yeah. So that's what we kind of came into, and now people are calling stuff mixtapes. They're just albums. That's how it is.
That's kind of the way I look at it. It's like, yeah, you're just releasing an album.
Yeah, but you can't call it an album. And I don't know the legal litigations of it, because I heard you can't sell a mixtape. So
there are some that are on their own stores and stuff. So they must have gotten licensing for the beats and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's great. Oh, you know what? I'm forgetting something. Back then, it's like 08. I believe it was 08. He was either 08 or 09. There's a rapper out of LA. His name is Young Melee. And he played, for y'all who don't know, he played the voice of CJ from San Andreas, from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. And he had a mixtape called The Real Coast Guard. And on that whole song, I think it was Dub C who kind of like narrated the
song or the whole album?
The album.
Okay.
Well, I guess the mixtape, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But yeah, they it's a real Coast Guard. All the original songs. Who you know is doing mixtapes like this? So that's kind of like what.
So he was using old beats, like other, or
he was using his original beats.
Oh, okay.
From a DJ named Battle Cat or something.
Yeah, Battle Cat.
Battle Cat. Yeah. So
anybody from the West should know Battle Cat.
Yeah. I don't know too much about Battle Cat. I just know
he was back there in the day. I think he did stuff on some of the first NWA.
Oh,
he was like big. Yeah. What was his? Okay. I want to say Battling Ram was his song. I might be wrong on that, but yeah, Battle Cat he was very much a part of that early LA scene.
Okay.
Yeah. I know he produced some stuff for different people, but he never quite got the
recognition.
Yeah, it's like one of those, like, if you know, kind of.
Okay.
You know, come up in the LA area, you probably are familiar, at least know the name at the very least.
Yeah. I mean, he did an incredible job off there, The Real Coast Guard. So, you know, there's some songs I still listen to this day off that album.
I've heard of the rapper, but I don't think I've ever listened to his stuff. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's mainly known for being the voice actor of the main character of Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas. But he's actually a real rapper as well. So that's the crazy thing about it. And if y'all want to check it out, The Real Coast Guard. It is an incredible mixtape.
I'll have to check it out. So
yeah, and it's but that was the first time I guess you can say that I heard somebody claim that it was a mixtape, and they said it's all original songs.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was probably the first time I did hear that, because I know 50 Cent was. It kind of get a little hazy, because even with Crits, it was like they call it a mixtape, but then they call it an album. So it's like you kind of like, what is it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like what are we doing here?
I was just thinking one of the earlier like a label mixtape kind of was I don't know if you're familiar with Rawkus Records.
Rawkus Records?
Rawkus, Rawkus.
No, I'm not.
So they were huge. They were like the LA or New York underground.
Okay.
For the late 90s, early 2000s. That's where like most stuff came up through them, like on some other stuff. I don't know if Black Star was released on Rawkus or not. I can't remember, but Company Flow was a big part of them. Just a ton of really good stuff came out, but they put out these albums called Lyricist Lounge.
Lounge.
They're basically albums that there are a bunch of songs by artists. I can't remember 100% if they were recorded live, because they actually did have a spot in New York called the Lyricist Lounge, and that was kind of an open mic spot.
Okay.
That's I know Mos Def performed a lot there. Saul Williams, who's a poet, rapper, he did a lot of stuff there. Like I said, the guys from Company Flow were around, but the Lyricist Lounge albums, they were kind of hosted, so you'd have somebody kind of talking through like between songs, and then the songs would come in. And that's where I said I don't remember if the songs were all recorded live or if they were studio songs, but just built together as kind of a presentation.
Yeah, but did they sound live? Or is it they like?
It's been a while since I've listened to it. I don't think they did, but I just don't want to quote myself and get yelled at. But yeah, there was some really good stuff on those. I remember. I think there was first one. I think was like a double album, and it had like like I said, Mos Def, Talib Kweli, Company Flow. I think De La was actually on.
Oh,
There was a song by them on there. KRS One was on one of them. I want to say there's a song, it's Last Emperor, KRS One, and Zach De La Rocha from Rage Against the Machine. Called, I want to say CIA. I think that might have been a Lyricist Lounge track.
okay.
But they did, I think, a couple Lyricist Lounge, and then they actually did a West Coast Lyricist Lounge album.
Really?
Yeah, and that one I don't quite remember. I know it came out and I know I listened to it, but
With the West Coast one, oh, you say you didn't listen to it.
I know I did when it came out.
Okay.
But I just can't, off the top of my head, I don't quite remember who all was on it.
Because I was gonna say, did it have that same New York feel to it? Because like you said, with the Souls of Mischief, they from Oakland, right?
Yeah, they're from Oakland, but they kind of
I feel like they're from the East Coast.
A little bit, yeah. They definitely have kind of, you can tell that it's like a Bay Area version of hip hop, kind of is the way I would, it has that kind of sound to it, like the golden era, native tongue style. But let's see if I can remember how to spell lyricist.
And I don't know who's dominating the mixtape game, because now it's just so many people out there that just drop things left and right. That and you know what I heard? There's a person that I do need to say in the mixtape era too, is Nipsey Hussle. His whole catalog was just mixtape.
Did he even do an actual album?
He did one, and that was his last.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it was called Victory Lap. That was his first, I believe, his first and last album. But the rest of his music is mixtapes, and so with that, he got like mixtapes of bullets with no names and stuff like that.
Okay.
Those are pretty legendary, because he had a legendary one with that, and he built his whole career off just mixtapes alone. And so I got to give it up for Nip in that round too. But that was before even, he was doing that while Wayne was doing his thing as well. So, he's, I guess, he just wasn't as big as Wayne. I guess you could say that. So,
I was looking at Lyricist Lounge. I didn't realize this, but apparently they actually had a TV show.
Oh my goodness.
On MTV from 2000 to 2001. It was a sketch comedy series.
Really?
That does not sound very good. But, so let's see. Where'd it go? So they had Lyricist Lounge Volume 1, Volume 2, and they had one called Underground Airplay.
Underground Airplay.
Yeah, but like the Volume 1 had a cool cover.
Oh, that is cool.
I don't know if you probably can't see it. Look it up. Yeah. But it had, where'd the track listing go? Just here. So yeah, there was intro performed by De La Soul.
Okay. Is it their song intro?
It was the intro to it. So they performed the intro to Lyricist Lounge. Yeah. Sarah Jones, who was a poet, spoken word. Body Rock, which was Mos Def, Q-Tip, and Tash from the Alcoholics. Bathroom Cypher with J Trez, Thurston Howe III, Quest the Mad Lad, a couple others. It's Prime, OC, and Rascas. Can never remember how to say it.
Okay.
Black Thought, Common, Pharaoh Monch, Live from the DJ with Stretch Armstrong. Saul Williams, I mentioned him. Cool Keith. Yeah, so just Bahamadia, Radiga. Yeah, good mix, but I know there was a West Coast Lyricist Lounge. Let's look that up. I'm curious.
See who was all on the West.
Yeah, Lyricist Lounge, the third album in the Lyricist Lounge lineup. And Furious, Zion 1, and Pep Love. You should check out Zion 1. I think you might like some of it.
Zion 1.
He passed away from COVID, and there was some tragedy. Like, I think the hospital screwed up, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I don't quite know the full story. But
was he like, I guess
he's like my age, but
no, I'm saying like, did he have some health problems and went to the hospital and they kind of missed
something with COVID, and then they didn't treat him properly. But I don't, spreading unconfirmed rumors, so take it for what it's worth. But it was him and Pep Love from Souls of Mischief. There was Chino Excel, who, I don't know if you're familiar with him. He just passed away.
Oh my goodness! I didn't know who he was. I just know him off the Hit Him Up, Tupac this. That's the only time I heard his name. So.
He put out some pretty good stuff over the years, but it was him and Saphir.
Okay.
There's one with the Grouch, who's a great rapper from the Living Legends crew. Motion Man and Cutmaster Kurt, they're both affiliated with Cool Keith. A+ from Souls of Mischief with Zion One. Lucky I Am, he's from Living Legends, Mystic Journeyman. Here's one. King T, Cool G Rap, and Trey D. That'd be an invite to check that out.
That's right there.
You got Cool G Rap, he's New York though.
Oh yeah, Cool G Rap.
Trey D's from the West Coast, I think. Fabulous and Nocturnal. So it looks like they did kind of a mix of some New York stuff.
Yeah. The West Coast.
Yeah. So there's encores on a few of these. I think he's in East Coast MC if I remember right. I actually, you know what? I might be wrong on that. I think I'm confusing them. But anyway, those were kind of like, I guess, some of the early, like, when labels started taking notice, kind of like what I mentioned, that Next Level one, where they use these as opportunities to promote various people in the group, and they were actually, put out more like compilation albums, but they were kind of like the classic mixtape. So
this was like kind of like where they kind of could show off a new artist.
Yeah, but it also capitalized, or it was helping to promote their Lyricid Lounge events, because I think there was like a monthly, open mic cypher sessions there in New York.
Yeah.
And then they did some in LA, and I think they did a few in other areas too, but there was the big one for, I want to say at least a couple of years that went off in New York that, you'd hear about them, and, every now and then you'd hear like, oh, so-and-so showed up at Lyricist Lounge. Yeah. So, yeah, but I was going to say, just kind of back to when I was talking about mixtape, it's kind of, I kind of miss that, and I mean, we have it now with like Spotify.
Yeah.
But there was something about getting that cassette, and, it was dubbed 3 or 4 times, so it's all gritty, and, it's, but it was cool because it was like, you were kind of like in the know, because, all the other guys at school didn't know about these groups, but you and your select
we were the group. What was going on?
What was going on? It kind of
reminded about him yet? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd be like, hey, or somebody would be like, hey, I just heard this song by this one. I was like, I heard that like months ago on one of these tapes.
Oh my goodness.
They're kind of
right and rights. That's what it was.
It's kind of like, I knew about that long before you guys. So
yeah,
it's kind of, we've talked a little bit in the past. It's kind of a different era where things are so just available.
Yeah.
Where back then, I mean, like in a different genre, like in heavy metal, a big part of like underground, like death metal was tape trading. And, I knew guys that they would send a stamped envelope to somebody in Belgium or somebody in like Norway.
Oh.
And that guy would throw a tape in that stamped envelope and send it back to him. Or he would, you would see ads in like metal scenes. It's like, hey, I've got a tape to trade. Send me one of yours. I'll send you one of mine. And so you get this tape from Norway, and it's got all these groups they have never sold a record in the U.S.
Yeah.
And then 5 years later, it's like, somebody's like, hey, have you heard Emperor? And it's like, yeah, I got that. My buddy sent me 2 years ago, dude,
And so how would you know? Because I'm just thinking about like right now, like with Spotify, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you send somebody a playlist, it has the title of the songs, the artist, and the album. What you talking about? If you did have that compilation of artists on there, how would you know which song is who? And
hopefully they would write out some good liner notes.
Oh, okay. So they
at least give you a track listing.
Okay.
I think the good one, because and unfortunately I wasn't listening to metal at that time, so I didn't get involved. But like later, I knew more people and would hear stories, and just kind of there was like legendary tape traders like that people would find, and they were famous for sending. They would always have the best stuff, the newest stuff.
Ooh.
And they knew, because they knew the band, so they'd be like,
oh, okay,
sitting in the studio and hitting record on their little cassette deck while the band's recording, and then they would like throw,
so stuff. Was that illegal, or
that whole world is very much at the time was just we're just making music.
Oh, okay.
They didn't care.
So the bands knew about it too.
Yeah, the bands knew about it, and I mean, if you're this little band in Norway, and then all of a sudden you get this mixtape from a guy in LA. And it's got one of your songs on it. It's like, well, shit, how did my song get from Norway to California?
Oh, okay. So
I've heard stories of that where like little bands would like, so somebody traded it with somebody, and then that person put it up.
Yeah.
So it was this whole community, and so
that's a good way to market your music too. Okay.
And so that's kind of the way I look at it with that early period of, like late 80s, early 90s, where we were recording stuff and giving them out, and they, bootlegging stuff, and
Yeah.
Yeah, and most of the time it wasn't. Rarely would we bootleg a full album. It was just like, I'm gonna throw. I've got these 10 tapes. I'm gonna throw like 2 songs from each on this album, and then give it to my buddies. Or you were making them for yourself, because then you'd have your Walkman.
Oh.
And instead of having to carry 20 tapes with you because you want to keep trading them, you'd put your favorite songs on a cassette. But then you'd be like, your buddy would be like, oh, let me get a copy of that. And then you would just copy of it.
Yeah.
So it was kind of some of that way too. It's kind of this mix of like, there's just this community.
Yeah.
I'm sure, it's very, and that's why like, I think a lot of like underground kind of more of that independent minded people were cool with Napster and the different file sharing, because to them it was the same thing. I'm just sharing tapes, because most of the people too that would, when you got a tape of somebody like these mixtapes, and you found an artist you like, you would go out and buy the cassette at the store, and get the whole album. It wasn't like you just kept, I'm sure just like anything, there's always people that are just going to get everything they could for free. But the people that were committed to music would like, you'd get this tape and there's like 6 artists on it. And, like 3 of them you really like. So when you go to the store, you're going to try to buy those 3.
Yeah, because you can sample them pretty much.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like almost a promo in that sense. And that's so like, I think that's why a lot of people in that kind of mindset were like cool with all the file sharing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it became so widespread that it really dipped into the artist's pocket, where, a handful of kids making bootleg copies on cassette, and hand it, wasn't like widespread. It's like my one cassette maybe went to 3 people. But on Napster, if I put one song on Napster, 10,000 people got that song. So it just took this little microcosm and then just blew it up and just killed the recording industry.
And that's crazy because I never really experienced Napster. I know I was around. Yeah, I never. The mixtape era I know is DatPiff. DatPiff.com. That was
it was the same type of thing.
It was the same type of thing. Like it was a mixtape site that you go on, and they had the new Wayne. They had everybody on there, and I think they were still relevant up until like the mid 2010s. Mid to late 2010s. So I don't know how they're doing now, but DatPiff was.
I never really did Napster. Like there's some other ones that I've used over the years, but I've always wanted to buy the music.
Yeah.
But it's probably why I'm broke.
Yeah, you got a museum right here of albums.
So, but
see, for me, I couldn't buy. Well, one, I was a kid, so I really couldn't buy music. But so I had to try to like get it any way I could.
Yeah,
and so
I think that was a lot for a lot of people too. So
yeah,
and I think the industry kind of shot themselves in the foot in the same way, because they're like, everybody's like file sharing the music, but you're also not giving people a reason to, because you're like charging $20 for a CD.
Yeah.
But there's only like 1 good song on the CD or 2 good songs on the CD. It's like you in order to capitalize on the market, trying to sell as much as possible, you were just throwing stuff out. So the quality control went down.
Oh, okay.
So I think a lot of people were like, I'm not going to pay $20 for an album that I'm only going to listen to 1 or 2 songs on.
Yeah.
Especially when I can go to this site and download those 2 songs.
And just then in that.
Yeah, and then I don't have to worry about it. So it's kind of like, if the industry had maybe some sort of, I don't know, ethics or something, I don't know what the word is, but where they actually focused on quality as opposed to just milking everything for whatever.
Yeah, when you say quality, I want to say there is DJ Drama. He has his Gangsta Grills mixtape.
Yeah.
And so with his mixtapes, I don't know how it was back then when he first was doing the mixtapes, because I remember hearing him when he was on the No Ceilings mixtapes with Wayne doing the Gangsta Grills. But what I'm saying is, like, I don't know if he had a part in like curating, because I mean, it is his mixtape, I guess you could say. Like, not his mixtape, but he has like kind of collab with certain artists. So it'd be like, Lil Wayne, No Ceilings, or what a Gangsta Grills.
Did he do all the beats and stuff on it?
No, because the beats was from Stole. You know what I'm saying? Like,
okay, they
were the radios. Yeah.
Okay,
so
they were. So
I don't know how that worked out.
Yeah.
And then but like nowadays with Gangsta Grills, and I say from at least recently, the most recent that I can think of is probably like 4 or 5 years ago, is with Mo 3. He did a Gangsta Grills with Mo 3.
Okay.
And I don't know if he produced those songs or, I don't think he did, because some of them have a really Dallas feel to it.
Okay.
But, you hear his little tag he has in there, that Gangsta Grizzlies.
Yeah.
And even he narrated one of Big Crit's mixtapes.
Okay.
It's Better This Way. He narrated that album. He narrated that mixtape. So, and I'm just saying, as for quality wise, I feel like he does play a part in it, because one, his name is attached to it.
So he's really curating and making sure.
So yeah,
like, he's not just gonna pick whatever beat off the radio. He's gonna pick something that's fire.
Well, I mean, I'll go say, I don't know how it was back then, like I said, but like lately it's been, because like I said, the Big Crit joint, not Forever Is My Long Time. That's my album. Big Crit is Better This Way. He narrated that, and that was Big Crit with DJ Drama narrating through the mixtape. And so I'm guessing that he kind of had not a say so, but like he was like, hey, like I had my input in, like, this song will work or this song won't work. This don't fit that. Because everything from what I realize is that with DJ Drama, his mixtape, when he's attached to somebody's mixtape, it's considered a great job. You know what I'm saying? There was just kind of misses, pretty much, for me at least. So I would say that he kind of does have that quality when it comes to mixtape.
What I was referring to is just like in general with the music industry, they put out, they sign an artist and they force them to put out an album real quick.
Oh yeah.
So then they only have time to do 2 good tracks, and then they just do a bunch of filler. So that's what was leading a lot to, like, people not wanting to spend $20 for a CD.
Yeah.
And only get 2 songs. So it's like, and that was, I think, partially what helped.
Done.
I mean, anytime you can get stuff for free, there's that group of people that are always going to take it.
Yeah.
But there's also the group that if you have the money, people are going to spend it on something good. If they're, something's worth it, and that's one of the reasons like I like vinyl, because you get more to it. You get the whole package.
You actually got me into that, because there's a lot that goes into the vinyl. Like, you have the whole story, I guess you could say, with that album. And
I love when you get one that opens up and it's got the gatefold, and when the sleeves have artwork on them too.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Just beautiful.
Yeah, it is a beautiful thing. So, all right, I think we're over our allotted time that we don't ever really hold to.
Right.
But let's try to do one of our top 5s.
Okay. Let's see what we got here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to choose one real quick. If I can grab one. Okay, there we go. Let's see what we got in here. Okay, I think we already did this. But top 5 female rappers.
Did we do? Well, we did the episode where we did
episode on it. Yeah.
So we can jump into there again. So let's see. I mean, obviously, I think Jean Grey.
You're right.
Jean Grey. I think we talked about the one Yugen Blackrock from. She's a South African MC that's really, really good. Bahamadia.
Okay.
We've talked about her. I don't know how familiar you are with.
No, I actually don't remember.
Okay, she's Philadelphia MC. She's one of the first.
Bahamadia,
BHAAMADIA, something like that.
Okay.
There's an MC we talked about. Emily MC.
Yeah, Emily. Yeah. The chocolate.
Yeah, chocolate bar.
Okay.
I would probably put her up there, but it's too soon for me to say like she's one of the best. But I was going to say on her album that just came out, Bahamadia is actually on there, so she's still around, because I think her first album, Collage, came out in early 2000. So she's been around for a little while, but she was one of the first female MCs that, like, to me was just like, she's just a spitter. Like, there's no, a lot of other females MCs, it's like they were trying to have an image and stuff, and she was,
she just,
she kind of reminded me like back with MC Light or Queen Latifah, where it was just straight rapping, just bar and stuff. So,
for me at least, I don't. As for female wise, I mean, there's only a couple that I can think of, and everybody pretty much mainstream. I mean, well, I mean, lately, I've been liking Dolce a lot.
Yeah.
You know, but I can't consider her top 5 though.
Yeah. I would.
Who else? I mean, the only ones I can say has been running the game is like Nicki, because I gotta put her up there. I don't want to say Lil Kim.
I never really like her and Foxy Brown. I think Foxy Brown was a better MC, but I just never really got into either of them. It felt, I guess, subject matter. It just kind of it felt like they were trying too hard sometimes to be just as
sexual.
Yeah, just trying to keep up with the guys, type of thing. And that's where because Bahamadia was maybe that similar era, and it wasn't about that. It was just she was just rhyming. She was just out there.
Yeah.
So that's where I, liked her stuff better.
Yeah. I mean, for me at least, I could say, I haven't listened to a lot of Lauryn Hill, but I like to say put Lauryn Hill up there just because she's more renowned.
Yeah.
Yes, and the stuff I have.
She was a really good MC.
Yeah, with the food.
Good singer too. So, yeah. There's one I think we've spoken about, Shay Noir.
Shay Noir, yeah.
Yeah, she's kind of. I think we talked. She's affiliated with Griselda too. She's from Buffalo, so she's kind of in that same area. But
okay,
don't think she's officially signed.
She's just kind of like,
but she produces and does her own thing. She's
okay,
but it's kind of in that sound too, kind of that mid New York sound. So
I like that sound.
Yeah, she does. I like her production is really dope. So she produces a lot of it herself.
Really?
So yeah, and she's just a really good MC. So, let's see. One of my favorite female MCs of all time is Ladybug from Diggable Planets.
Ladybug.
Yeah, which I don't know if I think I've mentioned them to you before, but you haven't really. I'm not 100% sure if how much you're gonna get into them or not. They're a little abstract. So, but
yeah,
honestly, I think her and Butterfly, and even Doodlebug, the other guy in the group, like all of them could be considered like top tier MCs. I think. Like not necessarily top 10 or top 20, but up there. I mean, Butterfly at times, I think he could be there, but but yeah, Ladybug is really Ladybug Mecca. Yeah, she's actually one of my favorite female MCs of all time. She's got a really smooth flow.
Yeah, Ladybug Mecca. Yeah, I don't remember you saying that name before.
Trying to think.
I mean, I could say like some of the classrooms, like you said, like MC Light.
Yeah. Queen Latifah, Me Love. That's kind of like the original 3 right there. But there was other one. There was like Sweet Tea. No. I'm not thinking of the current one, Saweetie or whatever.
Yeah, Sweet.
No, there was like somebody. I'm drawing blanks on some of the originals. From LA, you had like JJ Fad, Supersonic.
Oh snap, that was her. Okay.
Yeah, there was 3. It was a group, JJ Fad. They were actually.
I thought that was Salt and Pepper for the longest.
Supersonic.
Yeah.
They were actually from Rialto, which was where I grew up in Fontana, which is right next door.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't know them at the time. I didn't meet them or anything like that. I found out later where they were from.
So good.
But so it's kind of almost hometown heroes. Yeah. So yeah, I know there's a bunch of others. I know we've got a bunch of records, but yeah, those are the best, I think. So check them out.
Yep, check them out. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the end of it.
I think
all right
for this one.
You guys been rocking with the Mad Panda podcast. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Thanks again. Remember, just like, share, subscribe, and we'll keep doing this.
Keep it going.